Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast.
I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury.
Marvellous, and welcome to the second of our Portsmouth Hustings for the local council elections 2022, counting down towards May the 5th. And this evening we move slightly across the ward, still up in the north, and we've got a team from Copnor today.
We have indeed. Good evening, candidates.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I suppose it's important to stress, as with all of our hustings, we invite all of the candidates along. As soon as we knew for definite who everybody was, who had been nominated on Tuesday, we have reached out to all the candidates, and I think we have 3 of the 5 that are listed are joining us this evening.
Indeed, we do. So I shall quickly do a bit of a rundown on the rules. Just to make that clear to everybody, and then we'll away our go with our opening speeches. Okay, so as you're saying, so the hustings, we've got quite clear and simple rules. Everybody has a 2-minute opening speech per candidate. The questions have been provided to the candidates so that they can give their best possible answers, and all of our questions are designed to be addressed to all of the candidates. So there's none that are directed at only one candidate. They're basically ones that everybody can answer. Each candidate has a 2-minute response time to each question, and the order in which they will answer each question has been randomized by our patented randomizer, by which we mean Ian did something in Excel. And then each candidate has an option. Once every candidate has answered that question, each candidate then has an optional rebuttal of up to 60 seconds. There are absolutely no penalties for not using all of your time. In fact, I'm sure that the audience might well indeed reward brevity with their intention. But that's how all that works. We'll ask people to keep their microphones muted when they're not due to be speaking, so that it helps prevent any disruptions to the flow of conversation. Other than that, hopefully, then the audience can listen, can focus their attention on each person that's due to be speaking. Each candidate will also have a 1-minute closing speech, which will also run in the order as determined by our coin toss that took place shortly before the show went live. So, without further ado.
Thank you, Simon. So we would invite all candidates to make their opening addresses, to introduce yourself, and to give that opening address. And can I start first with Mary, please?
Certainly. Good evening. All our residents deserve the chance to live rewarding and meaningful lives. The parts of Britain have flourished, while others have been neglected, particularly the south over the north, and that has to change. The cost of living crisis really concerns me. I currently work for a food bank and never thought I'd see such poverty in one of the richest countries in the world. It's already affecting Copnor residents. I deliver food hampers to families struggling to make ends meet. Some people's wages are already so low they can't cope with soaring energy bills and food prices. I've worked in communities across the city for 25 years, but the number being pulled into debt, who've always been able to manage, is really worrying and unprecedented. Um, and it's going to get worse when the next bills arrive. I don't want to see any more hardworking Copnor people struggling, but with these rising costs, I know I will. How can our government-led energy companies make more cash than they know what to do with, while some people have to choose between heat or eating? Portsmouth really can't afford the Tories. Labour would cut VAT on energy bills and extend the Warm Homes discount to save £600 for 13,608 people in Copnor, with a windfall tax on the extra profits that companies have made. Pressures and money worries lead to increase in domestic abuse. So I was really pleased when our Labour councillor, Kirsty Miller, succeeded in getting the council to raise awareness of this issue and to look at possibly extending provision of street lighting and CCT coverage to make the city safer for women and everyone. From talking to people on the doorstep, I'd like to see lots of things change in Copnor. Park wardens to deal with the antisocial behaviour such as fly tipping and drug taking in College Park, a clean air zone around Copnor, particularly Copnor Road, more affordable housing and fewer HMOs, more women on the council and diversity to truly reflect our communities. Something done about the noise levels in Mayfield School, which is a huge issue at the moment. I want to be a people's advocate and focus on the issues that matter most to you. Residents are councillors' greatest asset. I want to let you know how powerful you are and how powerful you can be, and how powerful we can be working together. Labour's different from other parties. You can trust us to give more weight to local residents and community involvement and to work for the many, not the few. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And now can I invite Raymond for you to make your opening address, please? To use the phrase of 2021, I believe you're muted.
Raymond, we can see you, but we can't hear you. We've got you unmuted this end. I'm stopping the timer on Raymond.
That would seem reasonable.
Raymond, can you hear us okay?
Apologies for this.
Raymond, we can't tell if you can hear us or not because you're not speaking. And we can't tell if we can hear you because you're not speaking.
We can obviously edit this in post. By we, of course, I mean...
I can hear you fine.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You're now coming through. So, Raymond, if you could give your opening address, please.
I've got come up with page unresponsive. Wait. It's come. Can you hear me at all?
We can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Can you hang on? Where I've got you on the whole screen, can you see that we can hear you? Yes, we can hear you.
I'm not. I can't hear any. I can hear you.
Right. Okay.
You can hear me.
Yes, we can. Yes. Apologies for the technical difficulties, everybody.
You've muted the host. Has muted Mike.
I've unmuted you because I can hear you, and I've definitely got you unmuted. We can hear you, so you're good to go. Are you ready to make your opening statement?
Oh right, we're back again, are we? Can you hear this time?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I can't. I don't know if you can hear me at all.
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Not.
I don't think Raymond is hearing. Okay.
Oh, you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh right.
Go for it.
No, I'm still on an individual, not an individual. But that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
That
Yeah.
doesn't make
Switch
any
over
difference
when
what.
you start speaking. Yeah.
But basically, we'll
a
start
few minutes
again, shall we?
Yes.
Go.
Please.
There you are. I'm here. Right. Right. My name's Raymond Dent. I'm standing as independent. If you can hear me, see what happens. I've lived in I've lived in hearing Ian. I mean, thank you, Simon. I've lived in 5. Right. I'll just start again, shall I? I think they know my name by now. I've lived in Pompey for 45 of those, 20 years. That's British Gas, that is. Employed up to people. But it's still in the ward. Still, people around the area. And Portsmouth City Council is quite... so I'd like to change that. I'm going to make it nice and sweet, as we've got a few technical difficulties. And that's about me.
Thank you, Raymond. Hopefully you can hear me. That came through absolutely fine. So I wouldn't worry about what you see on the screen. We'll let you know when it's your turn to talk, and
Okay, cheers.
then just go for it. Okay. But thank you, Raymond.
Yeah, no problem.
If I can then move
No
on
problem.
for the opening address, please, Ben.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Ben Swann. I'm the current councillor for Copnor and Anchorage Park. Representing the residents of Copnor and Anchorage Park has been the biggest honour of my life. The residents of the ward have always demanded hard-working representatives who are visible and working in the ward all year round for them, their family and our community, not just those who turn up in the weeks before the election, which so often happens in Copnor. I work for all residents, whether they voted for me or not, and I'm proud that I've always done that to the very best of my ability, and I always will. We have a fantastic community, and we have a fantastic community team that work extremely hard for the residents all year round, and we've delivered on many of the issues that we have worked on, obviously issues that we will come to, and this is something that we will continue doing. This has not always been an easy thing to do. We are a forgotten area of the city, but we do work hard. We listen to our residents. We are always visible, and I hope to have the opportunity to continue working extremely hard.
Thank you, Ben. Hand over to Simon.
Thank you very much, Ben. Sorry, I'm just going to switch that back to the other view. Okay, so our first question then comes hot on the heels of our introductions. So thank you very much for all of our introductions. So our first question: why are you standing in Copnor? And our randomizer gives that question first to Ben, please.
Thank you. Well, I'm the current serving councillor for Copnor, or Copnor and Anchorage Park, as I insist on calling it, because we can't disenfranchise those that live in the other part of the ward. I would like the opportunity to continue the hard work I've done so far across the ward on issues that matter to local people. I have a deep personal connection with the ward, as members of my family have lived here since before the First World War, hence my passion for preserving the amazing family community feel of the area. I know it's corny, but I love Copnor and Anchorage Park. We have such a vibrant community feel where people look out for each other, they treasure their neighbours, something that has become especially true over the past couple of years. The area has such a great vibe. We have a really special shopping area with some fantastic independent businesses and places where the community can get together, whether that's one of our excellent pubs or one of the brilliant cafes and restaurants that we're blessed with. It's a unique area, and actually it reminds me a lot of Greenwich Village in New York, with that kind of unique community feel. My wife Kerry and I live on the western border of the ward with our dogs Bertie and Rupert, and as such we're confronted with the same local issues as every other resident, and that's why I'm so passionate at fighting for the issues that residents raise with me, because I'm one of them. I'm one of the residents. I understand the issues that people have, so I'm in a good position to be able to approach them honestly, without politicking and all the other kabuki theatre that seems to come around. I would be honoured to be given the chance. I would be honoured to be given the chance to continue working and being given the same, giving the same strong voice for residents on the issues that have come up over the past 6 years, which is when I first started volunteering and helping in the community. We need Copnor to keep moving forward.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then I put the same question, please, to Mary.
Well, why wouldn't I want to stand in Copnor? It's a great place, a great community, and I think I've got many skills that can help Copnor to be even better. It's not a requirement to live here, but I'd like to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That one was short and sweet. And then the same question, please, to Raymond. Are you getting us, Raymond? I don't know. I suspect that he might be having a delay on his end. That means he's getting our questions about 15 seconds after we've said them. Raymond, can you hear us? I'm going to try and I'm sorry for the technical difficulties there. What I'm suggesting I do is I'll try and get Raymond to log out and log back in again. If you want to move on,
I'll move on to the next questions, and we will run with it from there. If you can take care of that, so I will drive the bus for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So the next question is really, what do you see as the key issues in this ward? And if I can ask that first to Mary, please.
From being on the doorstep, the lack of much needed affordable housing, and the leading into increased developments of HMOs, so housing with multiple occupancy is a problem. Antisocial behaviours in areas such as College Park, air pollution in Copnor Road leading to increased lung issues in adults and children. We need to extend the clean air zone. Cuts in the bus service, prices of buses, increasing poverty, people struggling with bills, are likely to cause us about a debt of £2,620 a year. Who can afford that? Current lack of community and leisure facilities at the minute, especially for young people. Parking is terrible, and I'd certainly lobby for parking permits if you want them. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Thank you, Mary. And so if I can ask the same question, please, with Ben, what do you see as the key issues in this ward?
I'm lucky enough to have an ongoing dialogue with residents right across the ward, and people are concerned with issues such as parking, which I know we're going to come on to later, HMOs, antisocial behaviour, road safety, dog fouling, and having a council that works for them. HMOs are particularly concerning for residents as local services are already at breaking point. Roads are already full of cars, and let's be honest, a lot of people living in HMOs don't all ride bikes, as we're frequently told, and we desperately need family homes in Copnor. The current planning policy needs tightening to stop favouring developers and denying residents a say in how they want their community to develop. In our budget amendment this year, we actually included an HMO officer who would update the out-of-date HMO register. But unfortunately, the Liberal Labour Independent Party budget that passed did not have that position, which is extremely unfortunate. This is something I've fought for since before I was first elected. I have a proven track record of standing with residents on the HMO issue, and I will keep fighting for them. On antisocial behaviour, I've been working with the local policing team to highlight problem areas in the ward and to their credit, they have worked hard and added these areas to their patrols. No one should feel threatened or feel like they cannot go into certain areas, such as public parks and open spaces, for any reason. And we need to keep the pressure on perpetrators so they do feel that the authorities are breathing down their neck. It's very much an ongoing issue, and I'm committed to doing everything I can to resolve it. Again, we included CCTV and additional lighting in our budget amendments, only to see the people of Copnor abandoned yet again by the Liberal Democrats, Labour and the Independent Party, who the budget they voted through had nothing for Copnor whatsoever. Road safety is also another key issue. Again, we wanted to secure crossing guards, which have been taken out of the budget. We wanted to include electronic signage on Anchorage Road, which is a real hotspot for speeding, and also HGV drivers using it even though they shouldn't do. And once again, the Liberal Democrats, Labour and Independent Party budget that was passed
Can you draw your remarks to a close, please, when you're over time?
Okay, had nothing. So the Conservative Party, we are the only party who are working for Copnor, are coming up with ideas for Copnor, and actually want to invest in Copnor.
So, in the interest of balance, do we have Raymond back, Simon, or are we still without?
We do have Raymond. Hopefully, he's now back in sync with us.
Marvellous. So, Raymond, do you want to answer that question as to what do you see as the key issues in Copnor?
Hopefully. I want to rebuttal on that question. Yes. I will question one after I've had a rebuttal of that one. Benedict Swann has just said that if he remembers correctly, George, the independent person, one independent councillor, voted for budget. He hasn't mentioned that part of it. So I'm sorry, but you've got that bit wrong.
So, Raymond, could I ask you to answer the question as to what you feel are the key issues in the Copnor ward?
Ridiculous.
Raymond, hang on. I'm just going to take Raymond out the stream for a second. There's something else I'm going to try with him, but I'll have to message him.
Can you hear me, Ian?
Hang on.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got you, Simon.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Because I believe you're getting our audio at a massive lag to the conversation, which
getting
is
your audio fine.
In which
I'm
case,
getting your audio fine.
In which case, Raymond, can I ask you to answer the question? What do you see as the issue in the Copnor ward?
Right. I've forgotten where I'm at. There I'm at. On that one. HMOs. Yes, there's a problem with HMOs, a massive problem. But the biggest problem is the unlicensed HMOs. According to council records, there are in Passport Road, Chester Road, and Queens Road, there are 30. And having walked the streets and speaking to people, there's an awful lot more than 13 in each of the roads, plus any side roads. That's the information that I could get at the time on that. That needs sorted out sooner rather than later. state of the pavements in Copnor roads off Copnor are in absolutely deplorable state. They're broken, they're raised, actually hurt themselves, which would end up costing the council a parking is another big issue, but that's an issue across Portsmouth as a whole. To get in, then we're looking at setting up a route that connects to the residents on a regular basis to find out what their concerns are, what they want to do, and get them to implement to, rather than just councillors just decide, the residents come up with solutions. They actually work. You know, these people are actually quite intelligent people out there. Community centre, community hub, nothing or community centre. Asking in College Park, College Park walkways. Same again. They're a disgrace. There's holes everywhere, and eventually going to hurt themselves badly. And all these things need to be sorted out. And the
Raymond
council keep saying they're sorting things out, but they don't seem to be sorting anything out.
Raymond, I've kind of allowed extra time because of the technical issues. I'm going to try to message you to try and sort those out, but I'm going to need to trim that off because we've gone well beyond the time on that one. So sorry about the confusion and the technical issues there. I'll work with you offline with that.
Yeah.
Please, could I have a rebuttal on that, please?
Fine, Simon.
Yep, Ben, a 60-second rebuttal, feel free.
Thank you. It's just a matter of clarification. I see in the comments I'm being accused of lying and saying things that aren't true. Yes, Councillor Madgewick did vote for our budget, but then he also voted for a budget that contained not a single penny for the people of Copnor. I remember this well because I was there. I voted for our budget amendment because I represent the people of Copnor and I want to help the people of Copnor, and I'm here as their voice on the council. No other party put anything forward for the wards, and I expressed my anger at the time at the utter shambles of what took place on that evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mary, in the interest of fairness, is there anything you want to come back on?
No, I'll leave it, thanks.
Thank you, Mary. So Simon, do you want me to pick up the next question, or while you're working with Raymond, or
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So this one is fairly contentious. That you know, many people in the north of the city sometimes feel that the council is more than happy to take their money, but focuses all of its investment activity in the south. Do you think this is true? And if so, what would you look to do about it if elected? And can I address that question first to Mary, please?
Yes, I do think it's true. And this is from somebody who lives in the south. I've seen the comparison for myself. And I mean, the north has no arts venues, theatres, galleries, or activities connected for adults or young people or children. Some rundown shopping centres, no new developments, lack of quality, affordable restaurants, no music venues like the Wedgwood Rooms, no skate park or decent facilities for young people in the north part of the island, lack of affordable fares for families, and a number of buses down to the seafront from the north, no decent cafe facilities near the estuary in particular, no clean air zone, and no bike shelters, all of which we have in the south. Says it all, I think.
Thank you, Mary. So Ben, same question. Is the north getting a raw deal? And if you agree, what would you do about it?
Yes, I do agree. Unfortunately, the current administration funnels much of residents' hard-earned cash to their safe seats in the south, whilst giving crumbs to the north of the city. And this is actually a view held by many residents in both Copnor and Anchorage Park. I think the honest answer about what I would do is it's less what I would do and more what the people of Portsmouth want to do. If they want a council that truly represents the whole city and where a rising tide lifts all boats, then my suggestion would be to vote for Conservative administration on the 5th of May. Then you will truly see all areas of the city treated fairly.
Thank you, Ben. So I'm just going to check.
Mary's waving for a rebuttal, but should we just give Raymond a chance to
Yeah,
respond
we'll
before we
let
go
Raymond.
back to Mary?
Yep, if we can just let Raymond answer the question, and then feel free to raise a hand. So, Raymond, the North getting a fair deal or not? And if not, what would you do about it?
I think a lot of people think that that is the case. I'm not 100% sure, as I'm not privy to all of that sort of whether they are better or not. So I can't really answer that question 100%. But I do think Copnor is in the middle ground, and it seems to be like the forgotten ground. It seems like the North maybe should be getting, and the South getting more than they should be getting. But it seems like Copnor is just this middle ground, somewhere in the middle that goes, you know what, for them, because that's the way it seems to me anyway. And it seems that seems the way it seems to quite a few people I've spoken to as well.
Excellent, thank you, Raymond. And Mary, you wanted to come in on with a rebuttal.
It's not a rebuttal as such. I left my second bit of the question out. And what would I do to counter it? Is it okay to say it now?
Yeah, go for it.
I conduct a survey or actually hold some public meetings to see just what residents of all ages would like to see in the North. I want to hear from them all the time, and I'd make myself heard in the council, you can believe that, and my experiences in community development. And I want to bring the skills to this situation, and I'm going to be rooting for you. You can depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Do any of the other candidates want to add anything? In which case, we will move on to the next question. Do we want to swap, Simon? Did you want to pick up the next one?
Yeah. Okay. So we've touched on this, I think, already. I see a theme to the conversations. So apologies for the technical issues as we work through them. Unfortunately, we've had to ask Raymond to basically cease the video upload. That hopefully means that I'll preserve his bandwidth so we can at least join in live with us. So this question, so the Eastern Road is one of only 3 routes onto and off the island, and it's a key part in the city's infrastructure, and also part of the city's key cycle infrastructure eastwards towards Havant. Along this route, what can be done to improve the cycle infrastructure along this route without choking off the flow of cars? And that first to Ben, please.
Thank you. I was delighted that the frankly bizarre idea to close a whole lane of the Eastern Road was reversed, thanks to campaigning from Copnor councillors, among others. I really believe in the notion of a city to share. The work started to create the widened cycle path on the Eastern Road is a great start, and I'll be pushing for phase 2 to cover all of the area from the current section to the road bridge to happen as soon as possible. Many of the residents of Copnor, and especially Anchorage Park, like to walk along the coastal path and down the Eastern Road for exercise. So widening it to give them a separate and safe area to walk whilst also allowing cyclists a safe route is key to the idea of a city to share. It's clearly very difficult to keep all groups happy on issues such as this, but keeping everybody safe really needs to be where the focus is.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Ben. And the same question, please, to Mary.
Labour policy is to give priority to pedestrians, cyclists and wheelchair users wherever possible. Eastern Road is clearly one of the most important roads in the city for cars. The administration has made some improvements to the cycleways between Eastern Road and Langston Harbour, and we would build on that and make sure that there were safe and easy ways for cycles to leave the coastal route and link into the east-west cycleways into the city. In some places, this would be easy, and in others, much harder. But that's not a reason to give up on it. The trial cycle route proposed by the administration was not going to work. It was ill-conceived and had not been properly consulted on, which is important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And the same question, please, to Raymond.
I'm sure you can hear me this time, Simon.
We can indeed. You're good.
Well, it makes a change. The Eastern Road, it's covered by many wards, not just Copnor. And it's the only way you're going to get the issue resolved is by all parties to find a solution, rather than one coming up with one idea and another party say they don't like. It needs everyone together, not and an independent. I'm quite happy to work with anybody, not just members of my own party. What it needs to be, definitely needs something to be done. You cannot, one of the main arteries into Portsmouth via road, used to log best part of the time anyway with cars. Something done on the cycleways and the walkways. What that is for something to be discussed with other members of the other parties along that route.
Thank you very much. Raymond, did anybody want to make use of a rebuttal on that question at all? Okay.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Let me just come to you.
Just to clarify that there is cross-party working on the widened cycle path on the Eastern Road. I had a very interesting meeting with Councillor Stagg to walk the section that's currently being worked on, and her, along with officers, gave some very good information about the aspirations to continue the path right along the length of the Eastern Road. So we are already working cross-party on this, as we all appreciate exactly how important this is.
Thank you, Ben.
If we then move on to our next question. So a fair statement would be that parking is a problem in most areas of the city, with terraced houses with no off-street parking. How can the daily frustration of finding somewhere to park be alleviated? And I'll ask that question first to Raymond, please.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. It's a massive problem. There's no easy way out of this. As I said before, that basically in Copnor, I would set up a working group with local residents from dotted area to see if they could come up with a solution. But as it stands at the moment, there's no easy answer to that question, unfortunately. And it's not just in Copnor, it is literally across this whole of the city. And even north of the city is pretty poor as well. So it's not north, south, middle, it's everywhere.
Thank you, Raymond. So can I address that question to Ben, please?
As Raymond's just alluded to, parking is a citywide issue and admittedly not an easy one to resolve, especially in an island city. I fully understand people need their cars for shopping, taking children to school, medical and dental appointments, commuting, and also perhaps as transport for elderly family members. And it's important not to villainise people just because they have a car. They're not breaking the law. We need to look at options for taking work vehicles off the roads as much as possible by working with the companies that they belong to see where they can get involved to actually minimise the impact of them parking on local roads. I also favour an all or nothing vote on parking permits. We cannot keep moving the misery around with a piecemeal approach to permits. This is exactly what was stopped when my colleagues and I worked with local residents to stop the permit zone being instigated across the Copnor Road in Baffin's ward. This would have seen a flood of cars from residents who refused to pay for the parking permit, further compounding the parking issues in Copnor. So, no, there aren't easy, quick ways to resolve this, but there are things we can do. There are things we are trying to do, and it is something that is constantly at the top of our list.
Thank you, Ben. And finally, can I ask the question of the vexed parking question to yourself, Mary?
Thank you. There's no doubt this is really tricky. Portsmouth residents own more cars than we have room for, frankly. The Labour group has been pressing the administration to publish a traffic and transport strategy, and they've done this now. We like the emphasis on pedestrians, cyclists, and wheelchair users' access, but the strategy is short on practical proposals and is far from being implementable. The Labour group are pressing the administration now to consult more effectively within local communities to help them consider what sort of measures are best for them. So, talking to people. In many places, the introduction of a residence parking scheme has worked well to reduce the number of underused vehicles parked long term in residential streets. In others, we need radical improvement to public transport and a lot of traffic calming measures, including living streets. Long term, these need to be considered alongside residents groups, and there's a lot to do before that's possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Would any of the candidates like to come back on any of the points made?
Oh, sorry. Let me just get us back to the everybody screen.
In which case, let me hand over to yourself, Simon, who you're now me.
I know, and we barely noticed. Okay, so antisocial behaviour comes up regularly in College Park. It's a regular issue talked about there. What do you believe is the root cause of this, and what needs to be done in order to tackle it? And can I put that first to Ben, please?
Yeah, thanks. I think the root cause is that it's a very popular meeting spot for people of all ages right through the year. And it's this fact that's abused by those who seek to profit of the misery of others. I'm very pleased that I was able to have the toilets reinstated in Copnor Park, and that people who weren't able to use the park due to the lack of facilities are now returning to the park and able to do that after the Liberal Democrats closed the original toilets. However, it is a great shame that there have been incidents of vandalism to the toilet block and evidence of drug usage and dealing. I recently had a metal plate installed on the toilet door of the block, which does seem to have prevented damage to the door, but this is something we are constantly monitoring. Portsmouth Police have also increased their focus on the park due to these instances, and the concessionaire in the park has a particularly good CCTV system, and following a chat I had with him, is now more than happy to share that footage to help us tackle these issues going forward. I'd also like to see more area-specific wardens to monitor and deter hotspots, and along with colleagues in other wards across the city, this is something we're very keen to pursue. It should be said that an initial rollout of these kind of wardens were included in our budget amendments, but not in the final budget that was voted through by the Liberal Democrats, Labour, and the Independent Party.
Thank you, Ben. And that next to Mary, please.
Poverty often contributes to this. Losing a job, things getting desperate because people can't pay the bills, which can lead to relationship and family breakdown and mental health problems. Young people not having money to do the things they want to do, they see other people doing, see other young people doing. Drink, drugs, and antisocial behaviour can, seem as something to provide a buzz or an escape, but it's no way out at all, really. We need to work with people as individuals Building trust, not a sledgehammer approach, doesn't work. Labour has supported the increase of community wardens. Let's get them involved. Let's get them involved and have, our share of the time with them in Copnor. We need to provide meaningful support. It's not an overnight fix. It takes time, but it's the only thing that will create change for those with mental health needs and addiction problems. We need opportunities for young people to meet, socialise, and get involved in things that interest them. Ask them what they want. Losing so many of our youth workers, the initiatives that they used to run in the city and places for young people to go has certainly contributed to this, and we need them back. I'd also like to see our park wardens brought back to help with this. They did a brilliant job keeping an eye on things, making sure these lovely spaces were safe and freely enjoyable for all residents, and better street lighting with CCTV too. But of course, all this depends on funding. With the national government cuts to local councils, this makes it obviously really difficult.
Thank you very much, Mary. And then the same question to Raymond, please.
Most of the things that I was going to say anyway, so I won't go back over those again. But the park wardens is definitely something that needs to be increased. But I think is that most of these young kids are bored. They are bored out of got nothing to do, nowhere to go. A community centre, a community hub would be somewhere maybe that they could go to. They could find something to do that wasn't taking drugs. I've witnessed it myself, literally walking down Copnor Road, and there's a road, both smoking marijuana, and one's got a slip behind his ear. So this needs to be sorted out. It needs to be, maybe more of a police presence around that area to thing. But literally, they are literally just walking down the road, and at night, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're just basically wandering the streets and they've got nothing else to do. So if they've got somewhere to go where they can the internet, something like that, may help the problem.
Thank you very much, Raymond. Did anybody else want to use a rebuttal on that one at all?
Yes, please.
If I can get you back onto the screen there. Go ahead, please, Ben.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just a bit confused with what Mary said. She says that Labour supports community wardens, but yet they voted against it at the budget meeting. So which one is it? And also on local facilities, the new Mayfield school development, when this is actually completed, there are going to be more sports facilities there, and the school are adamant that they want this to be able to be made available to the local community. So this is something that is already in the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ben, Mary, did you need to use your rebuttal at all?
Understood that we did support actually wardens. And as far as the school's concerned, I did say at the moment, it looks like it's going to be a little while till Mayfield is finished. And I'll get on to Mayfield later on because there are several issues concerning me at the minute residents nearby have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Lovely. So on to our next question. And Ian, if I unmute you, you might be able to speak.
That will help. Thank you, sir. Wild gesticulations there always helped. So if we look at the council at the moment, it isn't representative of the community that it serves. The diversity levels are not necessarily where they should be. Is this something that local parties should actively address, or is it just a case of the best person for the job? Can I ask that question first to Mary, please?
Of course, we want to change it. The Labour group's trying to change it. We think that all people are the best people for the jobs. I have 42 councillors here in Portsmouth, just 12 are women. and 3 of those Labour out of a total of 7 councillors. We've also a 50-50 split, and our candidates always represent a range of our communities in the city. And certainly in the candidate list at the minute, I can think of at least 3 people from minority ethnic groups. We have gay people, we have people with hidden disabilities, we have people with not hidden disabilities. I mean, we really want to make sure and represent the community that we live and work in. That's only fair.
Thank you, Mary. And can I address that same question, please, to Raymond?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the same again, pretty much. I think it's the best person for the job, no matter where they're from, as long as they're making Copnor a better place to live. Independent Party, we would welcome anybody, and I mean anybody, with open arms.
Thank you, Raymond. And finally, can I ask that question to Ben, please?
I think this is a very interesting question. I know from my own party locally that we've long had engagement with different ethnic communities in the city, encouraging them to stand as councillors, but you can't force people to stand for election if they don't want to. I think we also need to be careful not to create an environment where altruistic effort inadvertently create a situation where communities feel that they're being put in a position where candidacies are gifted to them based solely on culture, creed, dare I say it, quotas, rather on the merits of the individual, which I believe should always be a key defining point. I have to say I remain immensely proud that my party delivered the first female leader of the City Council. Our MP is female, the Police and Crime Commissioner is female, we have 4 excellent female councillors, we have councillors from the LGBT community, and if I may say, 2 of them are the finest people I've ever met. We have 3 brilliant female candidates for May. We have candidates from various backgrounds of religion and ethnicity, all of which are currently serving, or candidates based purely on their own merits. I will point out, though, for all Labour's fine words, they did previously deselect a member of the Bangladeshi community to replace them with a white British candidate. So, I think they need to be a little bit careful with the truth on that one.
Thank you, Ben. So would either any candidates like to come back with a rebuttal based on what they've heard?
Mary's raising her hand.
Thank you, Mary. Yep.
I do believe that it was absolutely nothing to do with his ethnic group at all. I think you're confusing the situation in there.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. If there's no other points, then I will pass on to Simon.
Okay, so our next question. So Copnor has got quite a large. It's home to quite a large area of industrial parks. So probably the city's largest industrial area, creating much needed jobs on the island. How can these areas be protected against the ever increasing demand for housing? And that question first to Ben, please.
Thank you. Firstly, I would say that before residents panic, I don't believe there are currently any plans to build houses on the industrial area, unless that information is being withheld from us. Frankly, it wouldn't be the first time. I think the council has a moral obligation to protect jobs, especially at the moment with the cost of living crisis. The council should enshrine the need for the industrial estate to retain this purpose officially. It would be comforting for those that work there, and also send a clear signal to residents that we are a pro-employment council, but that the administration are keen to look at sensible development options, such as areas like Milton Campus, which offers a huge opportunity for housing.
Okay, thank you very much. And that same question to Mary, please.
The new local plan, which is well underway, preserves and adds to land already set aside for industry, and once it's allocated, it won't be used for new homes. The industrial areas in Copnor are important the city's economy and are not on threat as far as I know. If residents and those who work in the ward want to get involved in the local plan development, they can go to the local plan website or contact me and I'll help you to get in touch with it and contribute your views on this, which will be taken into account. Certainly, the Labour group are well aware of the importance of businesses located in the city and want to keep them, particularly those that provide local employment and aren't a burden to the infrastructure with too much traffic or pollution, because that is something we need to think about. The Labour group have no proposal to repurpose industrial parks for any residential developments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then the same question, please, to Raymond.
Going to be short and sweet. I think it's a ludicrous idea to actually put houses on an industrial land. End of. I'm not going to say any more because it would actually Ilsmouth. Yeah, it's a ludicrous idea.
Okay, thank you very much. And just to be clear, we haven't got sight of some secret document on the Poppy Politics podcast that said that there's any to put housing on industrial parks. It's just that the pressure on housing spaces is quite heavily felt across the city. Okay, anybody want to rebut on that one at all? Okay, that's lovely. Next one, Ian.
So if we look at how the council functions at the minute, and we're going to give you the power to change something, is there one thing in terms of the way the council currently functions that you would change? And if I can put that question first to Raymond.
Yeah, there is one thing, and it was brought up at I do believe it was I might be wrong, but in-house, working in-house, where we outsource, as a council outsource a lot, especially in something that I know a lot in the plumbing industry. And if it was brought in-house and done correctly, then I believe it could save the council an awful lot of money. If I can remember, I'm sure Conservative. It was actually, I think it was actually the Liberal Dems that actually proposed it, and I'm sure the Conservatives actually shot it down. But if it's done correctly, it could save the council lots of money.
Okay, thank you, Raymond. Can I ask the same question about what would you change about the way the council works to Ben?
Absolutely. There's far too much hiding behind policy and inflexibility on any number of issues. Quite simply, we work for the residents of Portsmouth. They're our bosses and we are entrusted with their taxes. But at the moment, they're just not getting value for money. Residents need a greater say on how their communities develop and what they do and do not want to happen. Too many times, decisions are made contrary to what residents want, based on lines on a page rather than what is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Ben. And finally, could I ask the question, one thing about the council you would change to yourself, Mary, please?
A great question. Of course, a lot of what councils can do is dictated by central government, as I've mentioned. Despite enormous cuts in local government funding, must function, locally, and the funding has diminished considerably. But it's still significant contributions made by central government departments, and they're tied to particular work streams such as schools, adults and children's social care, and particular grants such as the money for sea defences. Okay, so what single thing would I do? Well, if I were in a county like Hampshire, where I had to work with a number of district councils in a two-tier system, I'd advocate for a complete rollout of single-tier unitary authorities like Portsmouth is. Having become a unitary authority in '94, Portsmouth has undoubtedly had some advantages over places with two-tier government, such as a much more coherent relationship with the NHS and much more integrated adult and children's social and healthcare. But I suppose the answer to your question is really to say, as the Labour Party has said before, is to stop cutting public services and benefits and reverse the damage that's being done to the lives of countless families who live in absolute poverty. It's a disgrace that nearly a third of our children in Portsmouth live in poverty. A third. And that we have a government that time and again demonstrates that they prefer rich people to the rest of us. We believe that government should be for the many and not the few. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any candidates would you like to use your rebuttal?
I would, please, yes.
Please go ahead.
Just going back to a point that Raymond mentioned regarding a vote that took place at the last full council meeting. Yes, personally, I did vote against the plans that were put forward because I don't see numbering residents with crippling amounts of financial difficulties is really the right thing to do, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to have to carry the can for financially for sort of pie in the sky schemes that look great on paper, but that are just unworkable. It is our responsibility to be fiscally disciplined and to look after the public purse. That is sacrosanct, and that is what we are called to do. We cannot just keep saying, "Oh yeah, this sounds like a great idea," and it's gonna cost loads of money. It's going to increase taxes. So, let's just do it. We have to be sensible. It's our job to be sensible.
Thank you, Ben. Any other candidates like to come back on that? In which case, I'll pass you over to Simon.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. So, just to kind of make sure that the audience are aware what they are. So community infrastructure levy is basically a levy against developers where they pay a certain amount of money for development that's approved to go ahead and that money is then given to that ward to spend. So how much, so what things would you like to see Copnor's community infrastructure levy money spent on? And that question, I'll come first to Mary, please.
I'm glad you explained that and I didn't have to. Portsmouth has some of the highest SIL contributions of anywhere in the country. SIL funds vary between every ward in the city depending on the number and value of the planning permissions granted, and they're allocated largely by city councillors. The Labour councillors in the city are working towards increasing the involvement of local residents to decide how best to spend the SIL funds, so that if I'm elected, I would do my best to work with local residents groups to decide what particular projects to allocate to the SIL funds, or the other way around. So I would be asking people what they need and what they want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then to Ben, please.
Due to the layout of the ward, Copnor Anchorage Park doesn't accrue anywhere near the SIL contributions that some other wards do. This is due to few opportunities for qualifying developments in the area. That said, the pot we do have, we use only for things that benefit the community. For example, new signage along pathways, potential new CCTV cameras in College Park. We're always happy for residents to make suggestions. As it's their money. It's their money, it's for their community. It's not a political slush fund.
Thank you very much. And then the same question to Raymond, please.
Right, well, basically, because no one knows how much is in the fund, Ben does, but according to council records between 2000 and 2019, zero amount of money was spent in Copnor, and that's actually easy to check up on. The only thing I can find that has actually been spent in Copnor is £1,500 in 2019, 2020 on the CCTV cameras in College Park. So without knowing, it would be very difficult to actually say what I would do with it, because it might be £3, it might be £30, it might be £3,000. That I don't know. So it's very difficult. Things that need to be done if you don't know the quantity of money.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anybody like to use their rebuttal on that comment at all? On that question, sorry. Okay.
Perfect. Well, then that now leads us into our closing comments. At the start, we said 60 seconds. You've been very brief and concise in your answers, so we do have a little bit more time, but obviously don't go mad. So in terms of your closing thoughts as to why the people of Copnor and Anchorage Park should elect you, can I ask first, Mary?
I want a better life for everyone in Copnor, for families, partnerships, and individuals to get the care they need when they're ill, have work opportunities, support for their businesses, green spaces, sports, art, and leisure facilities to enjoy, and help when they're in need. I want us all to be able to enjoy a green, cleaner city. Our Labour councillors called the climate emergency here in 2009 and regularly push for a variety of bolder actions to improve our environment. I'd like to see more women on the council too, as we make up over 50% of the UK's population. And more diversity to reflect all our communities certainly wouldn't go amiss. We really need that. And I want to be part of that change. I want to be your advocate and focus on your issues and see what we can achieve to make this sport an even better place to grow up, live and work in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Could I also address that question, please, to Raymond?
Basically, I want to represent Copnor Ward because I don't know who their councillor is. I sold my property for 7 years, never seen one, never had anything through the front door. So I really don't. Everyone I speak to couldn't name either 1, 2, or 3 of the local councillors. If I get elected, that they will all know who I am. Even if I go and knock on every single door, they will know who I am. They will know how to contact me. I will be contactable all the time. My phone is turned off and it will stay on 24/7. And I do believe that, I don't know where Mary lives, but I do believe I am the only candidate who actually is in Copnor Ward. I know Benedict, just outside the ward, doesn't actually live in the ward. Because from Copnor, actually live in Copnor Ward. And that needs to change. We need local people to look after local issues. Not party politics. No, it needs to be local people looking after the local people. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. And finally, Ben, please.
It really has been the honour of my life to represent the people of Copnor and Anchorage Park. My wife and I live locally in Emsworth Road, between Powers Court and Chichester. Yes, literally just on the border of the ward. I understand the issues you face on a day-to-day basis in the ward because I face them too. Your concerns are my concerns. I love our community and we must continue to fight to protect it. And that's why I have no hesitation whatsoever on renewing the promise I made 4 years ago to work hard all year round to ensure residents have the representation they voted for when they need it, not just in the weeks leading up to the election. I would also encourage residents to look at who is actually working hard for them and who is just talking about working hard. I humbly ask for your support on May the 5th because together we can keep Copnor and Anchorage Park moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And that brings our Copnor Hustings to an end. Simon and I would like to extend our thanks to all of the candidates who have been prepared to step forward and share this evening, and thanks to the listeners who have who've stayed with us as we've battled the technical issues. So you've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And I've been Simon Sainsbury. Join us next week at 6:27 when we'll have another show. We're still hurriedly trying to sort out and schedule some more of our hustings. We have on the April the 26th, we have the hustings for Baffins. With the independent candidate Jeanette Smith, the Conservative candidate Charlie Douglas, and the Labour candidate Jason Christopher taking part. And we're also busy trying to schedule in the Eastleigh and Craneswater hustings, where we have Matthew Winnington, the Lib Dem candidate, Craig Withy, the Labour candidate, and Lee Tyndall, the Portsmouth Independence Party candidate, willing to take part. We're just trying to find a date in the schedule. And in Nelson, we also have that to get into the schedule, where we've got Jason Frizzacoli, the Liberal Democrat candidate. We've got Spencer Gardner, the Conservative candidate. And we also have Amy Gwyther, the Labour candidate, and we're trying to reach out to candidates of other parties. We have interested candidates in other wards, and we'll continue to do a hustings as long as we can schedule one in any ward in the city where we can get at least 2 of the candidates to agree on a date. So watch this space. Join us next week. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast.